We believed that we could build a new world without borders, wars, and violence.
Peace, progress, prosperity. But what lies behind these bright slogans?
Resistance. Confederation. Your war will never end.
In its prolonged war against the resistance, the Confederation relied heavily on the sea as a method to exert power and security, as well as provide heavy fire support for its ground and air forces. The purpose of today's documentary is to put a spotlight on this often overlooked part of the Confederation peacekeeping corps. All naval vessels were constructed, stocked, armed, and crewed at a shipyard. This rectangular-shaped building was supported by 4 pillars and what appeared to be a fabricator on top of the structure, presumably for ship construction and maintenance. The Confederation used naval transports to deploy troops and move cargoes over large distances despite their limited functionality. On the ship's deck were 4 cargo containers sealed together that were meant for carrying resources and equipment. Below the deck was the ship's hull, where troops were stored via a well dock. The craft could hold a few infantry and 2 or more vehicles, and 6 or more containers worth of cargo. If the Confederation needed a way to slip into resistance bases unexpectedly, or provide lightweight but powerful marine or ground support, then it could look no further than Delta-class amphibians. These light vehicles could traverse on both water and land and were armed with a 30mm quick-firing autocannon that had an independent gyro targeting system. The Delta was also equipped with a naval mine deactivator that neutralized mines set by the Resistance's Caymans, similarly to the AV-40 Fortress. However, this made the Delta vulnerable, as it had to remain stationary as it demined areas. The Delta was crewed by 3 members: the driver, the gunner, and the commander. With all of this working on tandem, the Delta was a formidable vessel both on land and water. However, its lighter armor meant it was easy prey for heavier vessels such as Resistance corvettes or submarines. There are very few Confederation fleets that don't have the Viking-class heavy destroyer. The ship had a triangular hull that pierced through waves rather than riding them, allowing for greater stability and state-of-the-art propulsion systems at the back. On top of the ship was its main gun, the Armada, which had 3 barrels nestled into a singular turret that could turn 180 degrees. The cannon fired 125mm caliber iridium rounds, which were propelled via thermoelectricity, allowing for maximum damage to enemy ships at a minor energy cost. Above the cannon was the bridge where navigation, steering, and all ship operations were carried out by the bridge crew for the optimal performance of the Viking. The bridge was also where the ship received instructions from higher command, either in the form of an admiral or a commander. Below the ship's deck was a Gauss torpedo launcher that fired tsunami-class torpedoes electromagnetically via 2 slits on the ship's hull. The Viking was equipped with state-of-the-art active sonar systems that could accurately ping targets in a large radius around the Viking. As for the final known component of the Viking's underhull, to save resources on marine engineers, the Vikings had self-repair systems installed for effective corrective maintenance of the ship, even while engaged in combat. Even though the game isn't clear on the matter, if I had to guess, I would say an average Viking had anywhere from 50 to 500 personnel stationed aboard at a given time. The flagship of the Confederation Navy was the Poseidon-class heavy missile cruiser. Unlike the Viking, the Poseidon had a rectangular or box-shaped hull for smoother movement. The same hull was layered with heavy naval composite armor at the cost of making the ship. On the ship's deck was a naval multiple rocket launcher that swiveled 180 degrees and fired Squall-class tactical rockets at an impressive distance from the cruiser. Above the missile launcher was the bridge where not only administrative and navigational duties of the ship were carried, but also where its cutting-edge combat information center and cruiser targeting system were. allowing for precise targeting of aircraft and surface vessels, respectively. Above the bridge was the naval surface-to-air missile launcher that swiveled 360 degrees and was equipped with 8 Hellfire-class surface-to-air missiles per salvo, and thanks to the Combat Information Center, could hit aircraft with a frightening amount of accuracy. Below the deck is a naval self-repair system that technologically triumphs even over the Vikings one. All of this combined makes the Poseidon one of the most advanced and powerful naval vessels in the history of mankind. As a personal opinion, I'd say there are about 200 to 700 personnel on a Poseidon at a given time. After a string of victories in the African continent, the Resistance High Command decided to navally deploy a string of small commando units into Western Europe via North Africa in an operation named Sending Gifts. The operation was carried out by a certain Major Lazarev and an unnamed commander. However, this comes from severe ground and sea defiance. And since the Navy would have taken too much time to mobilize, the naval confrontation was headed by the Confederation Coast Guard. This branch of the Confederation Peacekeeping Corps, like many Coast Guards of today, was created for maintaining marine security and order and light patrol. Its arsenal includes Delta amphibians and civilian patrol craft that were the base plate for the Resistance's Caymans, minus the armament. Despite the best efforts of the Coast Guard, the commandos were successfully deployed and many Confederation craft were destroyed in the confrontation. The Confederation Navy's hierarchical structure is similar to that of most militaries, with individual ships being commanded by captains or so-called skippers, and task forces, or fleets being commanded by admirals or commanders, and similarly ranking officers with naval bases established all over the world, with some notable examples being the ones in the Gulf of Mexico and the Isthmus of Panama. Officers, like the rest of the Peacekeeping Corps, wear dark blue uniforms with golden detailing. In conclusion, the Confederation Navy and Coast Guard are important parts of the Confederation Peacekeeping Corps, securing the interests of the Senate in order to preserve freedom from the radical resistance movement.